Captain James Reed stood at the command center of the ESS Sentinel, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship was Earth's newest long-range patrol vessel, assigned to the quiet border regions of human space. After 20 years in service and surviving the First Contact War, Reed thought he had seen everything. He was wrong. "Captain," picking up a signal. "Very faint," said Officer Tom Miller, his young communications specialist. "It's coming from beyond the frontier." Reed walked over to Miller's station. "Beyond our territory." "How far?" "At least 3 jumps past the border, sir." "In the Lumari mining sector." Reed frowned. The Lumari were peaceful beings, the first aliens to offer friendship to Earth. Their mining colonies rarely had problems. "Let me hear it," Reed ordered. Static filled the bridge, then broken words came through. "Under attack. Unknown ships. Weapons we've never. Please help." The static cleared for a moment, and a video feed appeared on screen. The bridge crew fell silent. The Lumari colony was burning. Strange ships with blade-like edges fired weapons that cut through buildings like paper. Blue-skinned Lumari ran in panic as their world collapsed around them. A single Lumari appeared on screen, his face covered in dust. "This is Mining Colony Epsilon. We are under attack by forces unknown. Their technology far exceeds ours. They arrived without warning and began. An explosion rocked the transmission. If anyone receives this, warn all worlds. They're coming for everyone. Earth must prepare." The transmission ended with a final message. "They destroyed our ships first. No warning, no demands, just death." Reed's first officer, Lisa Trent, turned to him. "Sir, our orders are clear. We maintain border patrol and report anything unusual." Reed had seen war before. He knew what happened when you followed protocol while people died. "How long would it take us to reach the colony?" he asked. "At maximum speed, 14 hours, the navigator answered. Reed thought for a moment. "Prepare for jump. We're going to investigate." "Captain," Trent objected, "that's 3 jumps beyond our jurisdiction." Reed looked at her. "I've seen that kind of attack before. No demands, no warnings, just destruction. If these attackers move toward Earth, we need to know what we're facing." He turned to Miller. "Send the full transmission to Earth Command. Mark it Priority Alpha and encrypt it with my personal code." "Yes, sir," Miller replied, his fingers moving quickly over his console. Reed addressed the entire bridge. "I know what our orders are, but sometimes doing the right thing means breaking rules. If anyone objects, speak now." The bridge remained silent. "Good," Reed said. "Navigator, plot the fastest course to the Lumari colony. Weapons, bring all systems online. Medical, prepare for possible survivors." As the Sentinel changed course, Reed watched the stars shift on the view screen. He hadn't felt this sense of dread since the First Contact War. Something terrible waited for them at the Lumari colony, and Reed feared this was just the beginning. At Earth Command Headquarters, Admiral Eliza Morgan was reviewing fleet deployment reports when her screen flashed red. Priority Alpha messages were rare. She had seen only 3 in her 15-year command. "Computer, display message," she ordered. The same footage that Reed had seen played on her screen. Morgan watched without expression, but her hand tightened around her stylus until it snapped. When the message ended, she pressed a button on her desk. "This is Admiral Morgan. Assemble the Defense Council immediately. Authorization. Omega-7. The computer responded. "Defense Council emergency meeting authorized. All members being notified." Morgan stared at the frozen image of the attacking ships. She had seen drawings of vessels like these in confidential reports from other alien allies. Ships that belonged to a species spoken of only in fearful whispers. The Voraks, the devourers of worlds. Morgan stood up and straightened her uniform. If the reports were true, Earth was about to face its greatest threat, and they were not ready. Not even close. The Defense Council chamber was silent after the footage ended. 12 men and women sat around the large round table, their faces pale under the harsh lights. Admiral Morgan stood at the head of the table, waiting. General Robert Hayes, head of the Army, spoke first. "This could be an isolated incident. We shouldn't overreact." Morgan shook her head. "The ships match descriptions of the Voraks. Other species have warned us about them for years." "Alien fairy tales," scoffed Defense Minister Wilson. "We've never seen proof they exist." Morgan tapped her screen, bringing up new images. "These are records shared by the Tellurians last year. Reports of entire planets gone dark, colonies vanishing, all with the same ship signatures." Dr. Annabelle, the Council's alien expert, leaned forward. "The Voraks aren't fairy tales. They're predators. They target spacefaring species, harvest their technology, and move on. They don't negotiate. They don't show mercy. If these are truly the Voraks," Morgan continued, "the Lumari colony is just the first step. They study their prey before attacking in force." "What force do they have?" asked Hayes. "Based on reports from other species, hundreds of ships. Maybe thousands." The room fell silent again. Earth's entire fleet numbered just over 80 vessels. "We've been at peace for nearly 15 years, Wilson said. "Our military is a defensive force only." Morgan placed both hands on the table and leaned forward. "Then we change that. Now, before it's too late." "What are you suggesting?" Wilson asked. "Invoke the Extinction Protocol." Several council members gasped. The Extinction Protocol had been created after the First Contact War, but never used. It authorized full military mobilization, conversion of civilian industries to military production, and activation of all reserve personnel. "That's extreme," Wilson argued. "The economic impact alone won't matter if we're all dead." Morgan cut in. "The Voraks don't stop. Once they target a species, they hunt it to extinction." "We need more information before such a drastic step," Hayes said. Morgan's voice hardened. "Captain Reed and the Sentinel will get us that information. But we need to prepare now. Every day counts." The council debated for another hour. Morgan showed more evidence, played testimonies from alien allies about Voraks attacks, and laid out a mobilization plan that had been gathering dust for 15 years. Finally, World President Thomas Green, who had been silent during the debate, stood up. "Put it to a vote," he ordered. "Extinction Protocol, yes or no?" The vote was 7-5 in favor. President Green nodded grimly. "Admiral Morgan, you have your authorization. God help us all." Within hours, the message went out worldwide. On screens in homes, offices, and public spaces across Earth and its colonies, President Green addressed humanity. "Citizens of Earth and her colonies, I speak to you today with grave news. An alien force known as the Voraks has attacked our allies and appears to be moving toward our territory. These beings represent a threat unlike any we have faced before." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Effective immediately, I am invoking the Extinction Protocol. All military reserves are activated. Key industries will be converted to defense production. A planet-wide curfew begins tonight. In homes across Earth, families gathered around screens, holding each other. We face a difficult road ahead," President Green continued. "But humanity has overcome great challenges before. We will not go quietly. We will not surrender our home." As the speech ended, the Earth Defense Force emblem appeared with words beneath it. "El person il report for duty." This is not a drill. In orbit above Earth, Admiral Morgan watched as dormant defense platforms came online. Retired military ships were being pulled from storage facilities. Weapons that had been sealed away after the First Contact War were being inspected and readied. It won't be enough, she thought. Not against the Voraks. Her screen beeped with an incoming message. It was from the Sentinel. Captain Reed's face appeared, grim and tired. Behind him, Morgan could see flashing red emergency lights. "Admiral," Reed said, We reached the Lumari colony. It's gone, completely destroyed. But we found something you need to see. Morgan leaned closer to the screen. What is it, Captain? A survivor, Reed replied, and a message meant for Earth. The world changed overnight. Factories that once made cars now built fighter ships. Schools closed as teachers joined the military. In every city, recruiting centers had lines stretching for blocks. Lisa Reeves walked into the Denver Science Complex, clutching her ID card. Yesterday, she had been designing mining tools. Today, her badge read, Weapons Development. Dr. Reeves, a military officer, greeted her. I'm Colonel Jack Parker. Follow me. He led her to a large room filled with engineers, all looking as confused as she felt. Listen up, Parker said. You all worked on mining technology. Now you're going to turn those tools into weapons. The Vorax ships have strong armor, but we think your drilling tech might cut through it. Lisa raised her hand. I make tools that break rocks, not alien ships. Parker's face hardened. Then make them break ships, Doctor. Because if you don't, there won't be any rocks left to mine. Across the planet, similar scenes played out. In Chicago, Colonel Thomas Walker faced 500 civilians in a warehouse. Most had never held a weapon before. You have 6 weeks of training, Walker told them. The regular timeline is 2 years. We don't have 2 years. A young man raised his hand. Sir, why us? Why not just use robots or drones? The Vorax jam remote signals, Walker explained. We need human pilots, human soldiers. People who can think and adapt when technology fails. He looked across the nervous faces. I won't lie to you. This will be the hardest thing you've ever done. But everything depends on it. In Washington, Dr. Alan White stared at the alien body on his table. The blue-skinned Lumari survivor had died shortly after the Sentinel brought him to Earth, but not before sharing crucial information. The Vorax attacked without warning, White told Admiral Morgan as she entered his lab. They jammed all signals, destroyed their ships first, then hit ground targets. Morgan studied the Lumari. Did he say anything else? White nodded. He said they took samples. Plants, animals, technology. The Lumari believe they study their targets before the main attack. How long? Morgan asked. How long between the first attack and the main invasion? Based on what he told us and reports from other species, 1 to 2 months. Morgan closed her eyes briefly. Then that's how long we have to prepare. At the edge of the solar system, 3 Earth ships patrolled. They were old vessels brought back into service and hastily upgraded. Captain Bill Foster of the EFSS Horizon checked his scanners. Anything, Johnson? Nothing yet, sir, his officer replied. Then she stiffened. Wait. Contact. Unknown signature at Mark 227. Foster looked at his screen. A single ship had appeared, its shape matching the Vorax vessels from the Lumari footage. Battle stations, Foster ordered. Call the other ships. Tell them. A beam of red light cut through space, slicing through the ship next to them. The ESS Guardian exploded silently in the void. Evasive maneuvers. All weapons fire, Foster shouted. The 2 remaining Earth ships fired everything they had. Most shots bounced off the Vorax ship shields, but a few seemed to hit. The enemy fired again. The ESS Defender shuddered and went dark, drifting in space. Foster knew they were outmatched. Send emergency signal to Earth. We've engaged the enemy. His communications officer worked frantically. Message sent. The Vorax ship fired once more. The horizon shook violently. Alarms blared as systems failed across the ship. All power to engines, Foster ordered. Ram them. The horizon surged forward, engines burning beyond safety limits. The Vorax ship tried to move aside, but too late. The Earth ship crashed into the alien vessel. Both ships exploded in a blinding flash. At Earth Command, Admiral Morgan received the message from the patrol ships. Then nothing but silence. Admiral, An officer reported, "All 3 patrol ships are gone." But sensors show the Vorax ship was destroyed too. Morgan nodded grimly. "So we can hurt them. They're not invincible." She turned to her staff. "This was just a scout. Send the word. First blood is ours, but the real fight is coming." Across Earth, the news spread. Humanity had its first victory against the Vorax. It would need many more. Lisa Reeves stood in the secure lab, staring at the piece of Vorax technology recovered from the destroyed scout ship. It was part of their shield generator, the only significant piece salvaged from the wreckage. "It's like nothing I've ever seen," she told Admiral Morgan. "The materials, the design. It's at least 100 years ahead of our tech." Morgan frowned. "Can we copy it?" "No, not in time," Lisa replied. "But I found something strange." She pressed a button on her device, sending a pulse of energy toward the alien tech. The piece flickered and went dark. "What happened?" Morgan asked. "Electromagnetic pulse at a specific frequency. It disrupts their shield technology," Lisa explained. "It's like they never considered this kind of attack." Morgan's eyes widened. "Can you build weapons based on this?" Lisa nodded slowly. "Yes, but we'd need to get close to use them. Their shields would have to be down, or at least weakened first." "That's better than nothing," Morgan said. "How soon can you have a prototype?" 3 days, Lisa answered. "Maybe 2 if I don't sleep." Dr. Alan White rushed into the command center, clutching a tablet. "Admiral, I've analyzed the Vorax attack patterns from the footage and the patrol ship encounter." Morgan looked up from battle plans. "What did you find?" "They always attack the same way," White explained excitedly. "First, they target communication systems, then weapons, then engines, always in that order. They're predictable," Morgan realized. White nodded. "Exactly. They rely on superior technology, not tactics. They've probably never needed strategy before." "Because no one's ever fought back effectively," Morgan said. "Until now." Captain James Reed stood on the bridge of the Sentinel, now back at Earth, and fitted with new weapons. "Captain," his communications officer called. "Incoming message from the Lumari homeworld." The main screen showed a Lumari leader, his blue skin pale with grief. "Earth ships, we have heard of your resistance against the Vorax. Our worlds have been attacked as well. We wish to join your fight." Reed looked surprised. "We welcome your help, but your people are peaceful. You don't have warships." "We have converted our mining vessels," the Lumari replied. "And we are not alone." The image widened to show representatives of 3 other alien species. "The Vorax hunt us all. Together, we might survive." Reed immediately contacted Admiral Morgan, who quickly arranged a secure meeting with the alien representatives. "We need a plan," Morgan told the assembled aliens and human officers. "The Vorax main fleet will arrive soon." General Marcus Stone, recalled from retirement, stepped forward. "We can't match their numbers or technology, but we have surprise and desperation on our side." He pointed to a star map. "Here, in the Cygnus Void. It's a region of space with unusual radiation that will hide our fleet. We lure the Vorax there." "Lure them how?" asked a reptilian alien. Reed spoke up. "With bait they can't resist. Information about Earth's defenses. They'll want that before they attack in force." "Who would carry this bait?" Morgan asked. Reed straightened. "The Sentinel. My ship. We'll make them think we have vital defense plans. When they come for us, we'll lead them to the trap." Morgan shook her head. "It's too dangerous. They'll destroy you the moment they realize it's a trap." "Not if we have Dr. Reeves' new weapon," Reed argued. "We can disable their shields long enough to transmit a signal. Then your fleet strikes." The room fell silent as everyone considered the plan. Finally, Morgan nodded. "We'll call it Operation Thunderstrike." As preparations began, Lisa worked day and night on her EMP weapon. When finished, it was installed on the Sentinel and every ship in Earth's growing fleet. On the day before the mission, Reed found Lisa checking the weapon on his ship. "Will it work?" he asked. Lisa looked up, dark circles under her eyes. "It should, but you'll need to get close. Too close." Reed nodded. "That's my problem. Just make sure when I send the signal, the fleet is ready." "They will be," she promised. "Earth is counting on you." Reed looked out a viewport at Earth, blue and peaceful below. "I know." He didn't say what they both thought, that this might be the last time he saw home. The ESS Sentinel drifted through space, seemingly damaged. Captain Reed had ordered all but essential systems shut down. Their distress signal broadcasted continuously, containing fake but convincing information about Earth's defense systems. "Any sign they've taken the bait?" Reed asked his scanner officer. "Nothing yet, sir," the young woman replied. "Wait, contact. 3 ships just appeared. Vorax design." Reed straightened in his chair, right on time. "Everyone, remember your training. Act damaged, but not helpless." The Vorax ships approached cautiously, surrounding the Sentinel at a distance. "They're scanning us," the officer reported. Reed nodded. "Let them. They'll find exactly what we want them to see." On the Sentinel's computers, false data showed plans for Earth's defensive grid, weapon placements, and fleet positions, all carefully designed misinformation. "Sir, they're moving closer," the navigator said. Reed watched the enemy ships on his screen. "Prepare the EMP device. We need perfect timing." Hidden in the dust and radiation of the Cygnus void, Earth's fleet waited silently. 47 ships, the largest gathering of human military might in history, hovered in formation. Alongside them were 22 alien vessels, Lumari mining ships converted to carry weapons, sleek Tellurian scouts, and heavy Draconian transports. Admiral Morgan stood on the bridge of the ESS Defender, the fleet's command ship. "Any word from the Sentinel?" she asked. "Not yet, Admiral," her communications officer answered, "but sensors show Vorax activity in the target sector." Morgan checked the time. Reed should have made contact by now. "Admiral," a lieutenant called out, "long-range scanners are picking up more Vorax signatures, many more than expected." Morgan moved to the scanner station. The display showed dozens of red dots approaching the sector where the Sentinel waited. "They sent their main battle group," she said quietly. "The plan is working." On the Sentinel, Reed watched as more Vorax ships arrived. What had been 3 scout ships was now a force of over 30 vessels. "They're surrounding us completely," his first officer reported. "No escape route." Reed smiled grimly. "We don't need one." Status of the EMP device. "Ready, sir." A message appeared on Reed's screen. A Vorax transmission, translated by their computers. "Human vessel, surrender your data and crew immediately." Reed nodded to his communications officer. "Send the prepared response." The officer transmitted their message. "Engine failure. Unable to resist. Requesting terms for surrender." The Vorax ships moved closer, forming a tight ring around the Sentinel. "They're within optimal range," the weapons officer said. Reed took a deep breath. Now, the EMP device activated, sending invisible waves of energy in all directions. On the Vorax ships, shield generators flickered and failed. "Transmit the signal," Reed ordered. A bright pulse shot from the Sentinel. Not a weapon but a beacon that cut through the radiation of the Cygnus void. In her command ship, Admiral Morgan saw the signal appear on her screen. "That's it," she said. "All ships, full power. Execute attack plan Alpha." Earth's fleet surged forward from hiding, weapons charge. The allied alien vessels moved with them, forming attack groups as planned. "The Vorax don't see us yet," her tactical officer reported. "Their shields are down." Morgan's voice was steady. "All ships, fire." The first volley hit the unsuspecting Vorax fleet with devastating effect. Ships designed to fight with powerful shields now faced enemy fire with no protection. The Sentinel, at the center of the trap, fired its own weapons, targeting the nearest Vorax vessels. For a few glorious minutes, the battle seemed one-sided. Earth ships destroyed 5 Vorax vessels in the first attack run. The alien allies took out 3 more. But then the Vorax recovered. Their shields came back online. Their weapons turned toward the attacking fleet. Evasive maneuvers. Morgan ordered as red beams cut through space toward them. The real battle had begun. And far beyond the fighting, at the edge of the system, space distorted as a new group of ships arrived. The second Vorax fleet, larger, more powerful, and completely unexpected, had come. Second Vorax fleet detected, shouted the scanner officer on Admiral Morgan's ship. At least 60 vessels, heavy class. Morgan's face paled. Earth's intelligence had failed them. No one had expected a second fleet. All ships, new formation, she ordered. Defense pattern Omega. Protect our damaged vessels. The human fleet tried to regroup, but the first Vorax force had already recovered from the surprise attack. Now caught between 2 enemy fleets, Earth's ships faced impossible odds. "Admiral, we've lost the Caro and the Beijing," an officer reported. "The Phoenix is heavily damaged." Morgan watched her tactical display as red dots, enemy ships, closed in from both sides. "Order all ships to fall back to Rally Point Delta. We need to regroup." But the Vorax gave them no time. Red beams cut through space, slicing through Earth vessels. Allied ships exploded silently in the void. On the Sentinel, Captain Reed saw the disaster unfolding. His ship was still in the center of the original Vorax fleet, taking heavy fire. "Engines at critical, sir," his engineer reported. "Shields failing." Reed looked around at his crew, loyal officers who had followed him into this trap. "Communications, send our sensor data to the fleet. They need to know the Vorax ship patterns." "Weapons offline," another officer called out. Reed made his decision. All personnel to escape pods. Set the reactor to overload. His first officer stared at him. "Sir, I'm staying to ensure the overload. The rest of you, get out while you can," Reed ordered. "That's a direct command." As his crew reluctantly headed for the escape pods, Reed accessed the ship's systems. He programmed the Sentinel's failing engines to build to critical levels, then locked the controls. Reed opened a channel to Admiral Morgan's ship. "Admiral, this is Reed. I'm setting the Sentinel to overload next to the Vorax command ship. Should take out several of their vessels." Morgan's voice came back, breaking with static. "Reed, don't. We'll find another way." "There is no other way," Reed replied calmly. "The fleet needs time to escape. I can give you that time." Before Morgan could argue further, Reed cut the communication. He watched as the last escape pod launched from the Sentinel. Then he aimed his dying ship directly at the largest Vorax vessel. The Sentinel exploded with blinding force, taking 3 Vorax ships with it, including their command vessel. The blast disrupted Vorax communications temporarily, creating confusion in their ranks. Admiral Morgan used this moment to order a full retreat. Earth's surviving ships, less than half their original number, fled toward the jump point. "Get us back to Earth," Morgan commanded. "We need to prepare for their arrival." On Earth, news of the defeat spread quickly. Panic gripped cities as people realized the Vorax would soon reach their planet. Some fled to rural areas. Others joined last-minute defense forces. In her lab, Lisa Reeves worked frantically to improve her EMP weapon. "If I can increase the power, make it work on a planetary scale," she muttered to herself. Dr. White burst into her lab. "Lisa, I found something in the Vorax communication patterns. There's a weakness." In the main defense center, General Stone studied Earth's remaining defenses. "We need to change our strategy," he told his officers. "We can't fight them in space anymore. We'll make our stand here at home." Admiral Morgan's ship was the last to return to Earth. As she looked down at the blue planet, she thought of all the ships and lives lost. "Send word to all defense stations," she ordered. "Operation Last Stand begins now." Earth's remaining ships formed a defensive line at Jupiter, the last barrier before the Voraks could reach their home planet. Ground defenses were activated worldwide. Every weapon, every soldier, every ship was put on high alert. The Voraks were coming, and Earth had one final chance to survive. The Voraks fleet entered the solar system 3 days later. They moved with confidence, ignoring the few human ships that still guarded Jupiter. Earth seemed almost defenseless before them. Admiral Morgan watched from her command center on Earth as the enemy approached. "All units hold position," she ordered. "Wait for my signal." On the Moon, Lisa Reeves made final adjustments to her planetary EMP device. The weapon was enormous, cobbled together from parts of 100 different machines. "Will it work?" asked General Stone, who had come to see their last hope. "It has to," Lisa replied simply. Dr. White worked nearby, finalizing a program designed to disrupt Voraks communications. "Their ships talk to each other constantly," he explained. "If we cut that off, they'll be fighting blind." In secret bases on Jupiter's moons, hidden weapons powered up. Devices that bent gravity itself, built from technology humans have been developing for decades but never used, were aimed at the space where the Voraks would soon pass. The Voraks' main fleet reached Jupiter and ignored the small human defense line. Their scanners showed nothing dangerous, just a few desperate ships making a last stand. But behind Jupiter's moons, something else waited. The remaining alien allies had brought reinforcements, hiding in Jupiter's radiation belts where Vorak sensors couldn't detect them. "They're passing the outer defense line," Morgan announced to all stations. "Prepare for Operation Last Stand." As the Voraks fleet moved past Jupiter, General Stone gave the order: activate gravity weapons. Across Jupiter's moons, the hidden installations fired. Not with lasers or missiles, but with waves of focused gravity that distorted space itself around the Vorak ships. The enemy vessels suddenly lurched and spun, caught in artificial gravity wells. Ships crashed into each other as their engines fought against forces they weren't designed to counter. "Now," Morgan ordered, "every human ship, military vessels, converted civilian craft, even mining ships with hastily attached weapons, launched from hiding places across the solar system." Earth had kept its true remaining strength hidden. From the Moon, Dr. White activated his program. Across the Voraks fleet, ship-to-ship communications failed. Captains couldn't coordinate. Battle plans fell apart. "Lisa, it's time," Morgan said over the comm. On the Moon, Lisa took a deep breath and pressed the activation button on her EMP device. A massive pulse rippled through space, invisible but powerful. It struck the Voraks fleet, already struggling with gravity distortions and communication failures. Ship after ship lost shields as the pulse hit them. "All ships, all allies, a take," Morgan commanded. Earth's final force struck with everything they had. Human ingenuity had turned mining lasers into weapons that cut through Voraks hulls. Lumary ships fired crystal-based weapons that the Voraks had never encountered. The hidden Allied fleet emerged from Jupiter's shadow, adding their firepower to the assault. The Voraks, confident in their technology and accustomed to easy victories, had never faced an enemy who fought with such desperation, such creativity, and such unity. For hours, the battle raged across the space near Jupiter. Earth lost more ships, more brave pilots and crews, but the Voraks' losses were heavier. Without their shields, without communications, their superior technology meant little. Finally, the remaining Voraks vessels began to retreat, pulling back from the solar system in disarray. On Earth, in command centers and homes, people watched their screens as the enemy fled. Admiral Morgan stood silently as her officers cheered around her. Earth had survived, bloody, damaged, but undefeated. 1 month later, Admiral Morgan stood on a platform before thousands of people gathered in Washington. She pinned medals on Lisa Reeves, Dr. White, and General Stone. "Today we honor those who saved our world," she said, "and we remember those who gave their lives." A memorial to Captain Reed and the crew of the Sentinel stood nearby, along with monuments to all who had fallen. As the ceremony ended, an officer rushed to Morgan with an urgent message. "Admiral," he whispered, "they found something in the debris of a Vorax ship. A prisoner, still alive." Hours later, Morgan stood before the captured Vorax, a tall, pale being with 4 eyes and metallic skin. "Why did you attack us?" she demanded. The Vorax looked at her with cold eyes. "What you fought was merely our advance force. The main fleet sleeps in the void between galaxies." It leaned closer to the barrier separating them. "And now they will awaken, with Earth as their primary target." Morgan turned away without showing fear. Earth would be ready. Next time, humanity wouldn't just defend. They would take the fight to the enemy.